Wow, I just muted myself. What a unbelievable. Welcome to the podcast, Detroit Lions News podcast. I can't believe I just did that. Um, for you people that are not watching it on YouTube, you're not watching on Twitter, you're not watching on Facebook. If you hear the podcast and you hear me, what the hell? That was it. I couldn't. Somehow it took me off for a minute. But when we talk about what we just saw, like we came into this game. I mean, I came into this game and I was very adamant that this was going to be a tougher game than most people realize. I think a lot of people coming into this game, we all knew what Tampa Bay was all about. We all knew what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were all about. You know, you watch last year in the game two, the Lions lose that game, right? You watched the year prior where the Lions won the playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That same year they played the Buccaneers. Such a tough game. I mean, you had Dave Montgomery, Jameer Gibbs go out with injury. I think Jamal Williams is in that game. I don't know. But James Williams caught that famous touchdown pass that I have right here. So you see that that was that game that we talk about. And it's been a back and forth kind of thing with this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. And you watch Tampa Bay and you watch Detroit, and they're a spitting image of each other. When you talk about Todd Bowles and the way that they coach, the way that he's able to recruit coaches in terms of he had Dave Canales and he had Liam Cohen. Then you have on the other side Dan Campbell. He loses Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. He recruits a guy like Johnny Morton. He has a guy like Kelvin Shepard on his staff. So these guys are pretty damn good coaches, and they're pretty good at finding the good coaches. And then you talk about the quarterbacks, the two quarterbacks, both number one overall picks, both were thrown away by their respective teams, the Rams and the Browns. And I'm pretty sure the Browns are wishing they can get back Baker Mayfield. But when you think about this game tonight, it was just like most of those Tampa Bay Detroit games. You didn't know which way it was going to go. You did not know which way it was going to go. And when you look at it from this perspective, a lot of people thought coming in this game was going to be a high scoring game. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be a high scoring game. And if you look at the numbers at the offense at the half, Detroit was absolutely steamrolling them. They should have been up 30-0. This was at the half. You could see right there, 39 plays. Detroit was 7.1 yards per play. Like, you look at that, it should have been game over. But the Buccaneers stayed in this game as long as they could. And no matter how you want to slice it, no matter how you want to talk about Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they will be around at the end because they're a pain in the ass. I heard on an NFL show they called them the biggest pain in the ass in the NFL, and they are the biggest pain in the ass because they're a tough football team and they play just like Detroit. Now, what I am the most impressed with tonight, and this cannot be understated by any stretch of the imagination, what the Detroit Lions defense did tonight was just special. Let's not even make it a hyperbole. Let's not even make it a bold opinion. That was special what the Detroit Lions defense did. Because if you would have came into today's game and you would have said the Detroit Lions are going to hold Baker Mayfield in that offense to 9 points, Abuka is going to play. Mike Evans will play for a quarter and then get hurt, which he has a broken collarbone. He's out for the year. But if you'd have told me that guys like Nick Whiteside and Eric Hallett, who I loved in preseason, I didn't know if he would be a real good player in the regular season, comes in, they all conform to the identity. Rocky Sin, he looked like Sauce Gardner out there. Thomas Harper filling in for Branch and Joseph. I mean, this was a total team effort. And they're coached well. Kelvin Shepard coaches them extremely well. It helped to get back Aleem McNeil. Hutch wasn't really like this. He wasn't this dominating force, but he really interrupted a lot of things that Tampa Bay wanted to do. And it just felt like Detroit had the momentum. And this defense, like, look, if you would have put this defense on a paper and said this defense will hold the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to 9 points, there is no way in hell that anybody would ever sign that except Kelvin Shepard. And I think when we lost Aaron Glenn, people were like, "Oh man, this is gonna suck. This really is gonna suck." And then you lose Aaron Glenn, you lose Ben Johnson. A lot of people overstimulated the whole coordinator thing, right? They were all like, "This is gonna be the worst thing in the world." I don't know about you, but we're a half a season in. We're at the bye week now. I can comfortably say with every piece of information that I know that this defense is going to be really, really good in the second half. And they've got better week after week. And today was just the mea culpa. It was the mea culpa of what they needed to do. And without Kirby Joseph, without Brian Branch, without DJ Reed, without Terron Arnold, they get Liam McNeil back. They that was a special defense. And there's statistics that say they had 33 pressures and 5 sacks for the Lions tonight. So 33 pressures. We'll see what Pro Football Focus has. We'll see what the other things have, other stat things have. But 33 pressures and 5 sacks for the Lions tonight. And I want you to take this into account. What they did tonight was special. Going into the bye, not losing 2 in a row is special. You won 5 straight Monday Night Football games. That's special. And when you think about what Dan Campbell's been able to accomplish as the coach of the Detroit Lions, you could say every time they come to play, they are going to be, no matter who's on the field, no matter what injuries they face, they're going to be a tough out. And I think a lot of people, they figured this out last year. You miss half your defense, whether it be to injury last year, like Hutchinson and McNeil, you still get the number 1 overall seed. That's special. And this what they did tonight was special because this is a team you're going to be vying for the number 1 overall seed with. Okay, you're going to be vying for the number 1 overall seed with the Eagles and the Buccaneers and perhaps the Rams, and you just beat one of them. So as much as you were upset about losing to the Chiefs, as much as you were upset about that game and how it ended, the Brian Branch thing, the calls, if you really wanted to be completely honest, this is the game you really wanted to win because it puts you in a chance to go and be the number 1 overall seed again with health, God willing. Because you heard on the broadcast, a lot of coaches are saying, "Man, I can't keep my team healthy," and that's the name of the game. This is the art of attrition. When you play this game of football and you get to a point in the season, it's the healthiest team wins. Period. Like the Eagles were the healthiest team last year by far, and that's why they won the Super Bowl. And that why the Detroit lost to the Commanders because they weren't healthy. Like you have to be healthy going into the playoffs, and if you're not, you're going to be a quick out because the teams that are good, they're going to see it and they're going to take advantage of you. Now, let's just get to the chase. This is what Dan Campbell had to say on today's defensive effort from the Detroit Lions. I'll play that clip because I think it's very important because he is the man, and this is what he said about the outstanding defensive performance by the Detroit Lions.
Man, good to get a win, get back in the win column. Guys responded, which knew they would, and man, defense played lights out. I give a lot of credit to Kelvin Shepard, the plan to go in against these guys, knowing what we were getting ready to face. And I mean, those DBs, man, Millette and Howlett and Harper and Whiteside and Amik and Rock. Strickland had to come in and play a little bit. Flowers, I just thought those guys, Jim O'Neill, Deshae Townsend had those guys ready to go, and I think they competed, they challenged, and man, our front came alive. The backers played really big for us. Those three in the middle, and so it was just an outstanding defensive performance.
So you heard Dan Campbell there. He was talking about the defensive performance that they had. What a great defensive performance it was. And it was just absolutely phenomenal. I will play you this clip because I think it's important. He's talking about get in there and compete. And I think this is what when you talk about I just almost played it. When you talk about the Detroit Lions, one of the things that I think is the most important thing to think about when you talk about Detroit Lions is their will to get in there and compete. Like I don't think anybody's going to sit here and say that their get in to compete was when they come to play, they're going to be a tough out. So I'm going to play you that clip because I think it's important to just think about it.
That's what's expected here. And, I've said it before. Listen, you get in there, you don't have to be perfect. You challenge and you compete, and we will help you, and the guys around you will help you, and we'll play with 3 units. But I love the fact the game did not feel too big for some of those guys. It's Harper's first start, really Hallett's first start, and I thought it wasn't too big for them. They got in there and competed, and that's great. That's a great sign. We did some things. We put Meek on an island a little bit, and I thought he really answered the bell. We put our linebackers on the island a little bit, answered the bell, but, I was proud of all those guys. That's
So you hear Coach Campbell there, and what he says is actually the realest of the realists. When you talk about this team and you think about every time they go out, what is expected of them. And I think what is expected of them is simply what Shep was able to do with the defense. Obviously, when you hold a team to the yards per play, which I think they had 3 yards per play. I'm going to get it loaded up, but 3 yards per play. It was a total just the way the Lions played defensively today, you hope that they could play for the rest of the season. And when they get guys like DJ Reed back and they get guys like Terrion Arnold back, that they get stronger. I think today was just like a very good step in the right direction. And for the Lions, I mean, when you think about it like this, I know people are upset about the offense, but when you play Tampa Bay, it's usually this type of game because Todd Bowles is a hell of a defensive coach. And that's what he calls the defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I thought today's game really hinged on the two guys that called the defense for each team. Todd Bowles for Tampa Bay, Kelvin Shepard for Detroit, and what Detroit was able to do with the talent that they were missing. I can't say this enough. The talent that the Detroit Lions are missing is unbelievable. They are missing Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, 2 of the best safeties in the NFL. They're missing DJ Reed and Terrion Arnold. And Terrion Arnold and DJ Reed are good corners. So it was surprising, number one. Number two, Baker Mayfield's been on a tear. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in the entire NFL. For him to be limited like they were able to do, and I think the most important thing that I was very impressed with was, and we'll see when the numbers come out on Pro Football Focus and all the stat sites tomorrow. But against Kansas City, they had 10 missed tackles. They didn't have 10 missed tackles in the first 5 games. Okay, so for them to have 10 missed tackles against the Kansas City Chiefs, that showed me a lot, man. That showed me why they lost against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think when you go back to watch that Kansas City game, I thought a lot of people were like, "Oh, this was just them playing bad." It was them playing bad, but it wasn't just the offense; it was the defense too, and it was just a total meltdown. And I think Kelvin Shepard coming in with less talent because we knew Brian Branch was going to be suspended, and then we knew Kirby Joseph potentially wasn't going to be able to play because he wasn't even healthy in that Kansas City game. And you really won't need him for the back end of your schedule, especially going into playoffs. You really want him healthy. That's the most important thing. So it was good on Detroit to get those guys like Kirby Joseph, Terrion Arnold, and DJ Reed a little more time because of the bye week. But boy, when you talk about what they were able to do today on defense, it's just unbelievable. Because I can't say it enough. Because it really is shocking to me. Because it's just Baker Mayfield was held to 228 yards. He was 28 for 50. He threw the ball 50 times and only got 228 yards. Okay. He was sacked 4 times. His quarterback rating was 66.1. You held the Tampa Bay rushing offense to 41 yards on 12 carries, which is 3.4 average. Their longest run of the day was 7 yards. Okay. I mean, let's just put that in perspective. Jared Goff had 6 yards. That was his longest run of the day. So Jared Goff almost had the longest run for Tampa Bay too. Um, and then you look at I'm gonna put you the stats up total drives. Tampa Bay had more, but their yards per play were 3.8. Like that's not gonna get it done. Detroit's was 5.8. Even in the past game, with all the players that were missing for the Detroit Lions, all the players, 3.9 yards per play in the past game, which is incredible. I don't care who's the wide receivers for Tampa Bay. I don't care who is, out. I don't care that Chris Godwin's out. I don't care that Mike Evans is out. I don't care that Ekbuka was hurt. When you hold a team to 3.9 yards per pass, that's incredible. And to know that your 2 best safeties are out, your 2 best corners are out, unbelievable. And they had 3.4 yards per rush. They only got in the red zone once, and that was at 4th down stop. So, again, this defense, hats off to the defense, okay? Hats off to that defense, because that's what won us the game today. And I'm very happy with the way that they played today. Let's get to some comments. I know I got a lot of comments, so I'll hit those. We'll start with this. NFL ref admirer says some say that defense is still out in the field to this day. he said, he puts another comment, kind of while we get yardage at will during the first drive, but couldn't get a first down with the final 3 possessions. You know what's crazy about that is who you're going against. Like, let's just be honest. Like, Todd Bowles as a coach, one of the better coaches in the NFL. Just one of the better coaches in the NFL. And he made adjustments. He definitely made adjustments, and they did a pretty good job at that, because they did hold Detroit down for a while. And that you look at their, the play-by-play. The last, every play in the fourth quarter, it was a field goal. They had 1 field goal and 3 punts. In the second quarter, third quarter, they had 1 touchdown, which made it 21-9. But in the second half, you got 10 points. You still outscored them at will. But what a great game by the defense. This just puts it into perspective. Like, the defense didn't even play. The offense didn't play to par. And I really don't even think that the offense has played to par the last couple games, if we're going to be completely honest with each other. I don't think the offense played nearly as good as they should. But they come out here and they win like they did tonight, 24-9, hold the team to 3.8 yards per play. It's incredible. And that's why I say Shep should take a definite bow. Did not love all the scrambling Goff had to do. You know what? I will say this: the offensive line was terrible today, in my opinion. Just because Jared Goff, I feel like a lot of coaches or a lot of quarterbacks, doesn't matter if you're scrambling quarterback or not. We know that Vita Vea going up the middle is going to be a huge issue in terms of the way that he can affect the game. We know that he could do that. So I did not like all the pressure up the middle. I think that's where Jared Goff gets in the most trouble. And if you want a real case to beat teams going forward, if you're the Detroit Lions, you get Lee McNeil back. He can push the pocket. You got DJ Reader and Tyleek Williams. They can rotate. But you got to push the pocket in the middle. I think that's the most important thing. A lot of people talk about the edge position. which is important. Al-Qadim Muhammad's done a damn good job. I think we all can agree to that. But you want to push the pocket in the middle because even the most mobile quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, like Jalen Hurts, who you'll play later in the season, Jaden Daniels, who you'll play later in the season, Dak Prescott, they hate pressure up the middle. Every quarterback in the NFL, if they're a good quarterback, hates pressure up the middle because they usually want to step up in the pocket and make the throw. So if you can push the pocket, keep them hemmed in, you're going to have a good chance of winning. Jamal Dean has always frightened me and not sure he got the interception. I said coming into this podcast, on a game preview podcast, I don't know if I know a lot of people listen to it, but I said when we were doing the podcast, I said Jamal Dean is a definite issue. And I think he was a little bit hampered by injury. He wasn't the same player, but the defense did a hell of a job no matter who it was. So if he was injured, he played it really, really good. So hats off to him. Another one in the last couple times we played Tampa Bay was like 16-20. Yeah, it's again when you play Tampa Bay, they're gonna be a pain in the ass. Like I said earlier, they're a pain in the ass. They're a total pain in the ass, and that's just what they do. They're that team. Their identity is like the Detroit Lions, right? We got Dan Campbell. Their identity is grit. Our identity is grit. They might as well be grit too because Todd Bowles teaches the same stuff. And I laughed at this comment, but there's a comment on Tampa Bay Buccaneers website, Facebook page or Twitter page or whatever, and they were like, it was a Spider-Man meme. It had Dan Campbell and Todd Bowles, and they said Spider-Man memes like, "Who's Todd Bowles?" He was pointing at both of them, so I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, this is what happens when you play Tampa Bay, and I hope we don't see them in the playoffs because they're a pain in the ass. They literally are a pain in the ass. I'd rather see the Eagles. I'd rather see the Rams, to be honest. Tampa Bay is just a pain in the ass. Baker Mayfield's a total pain in the ass. And thank God they're losing Kalasia Kancey, but they got some injury issues too. And that's, again, we're going to go back to the injury thing. When we get to the end of the year, the healthiest team will win the Super Bowl. Always the way it goes. Let's get to more comments. Bro, filling in for Branch actually looked like Branch on a couple of those tackles. Eric Hallett is a hell of a player. He was the guy that was filling in for Brian Branch. And I will tell you this. If you watch Eric Hallett at Pitt, which I know a lot of people don't watch Pittsburgh football. Like, who the hell watches Pittsburgh football? Now, I do, but I'm a sicko. I'm a real sicko. Eric Hallett is a hard hitter. He's a very hard hitter. He's a very smart player. And I didn't know how he would translate to the NFL game because when you're talking about a guy like Eric Hallett, usually they don't translate well to the NFL game. And he's been able to, in that one game, he showed that he belongs. So if he gets sent back to the practice squad, some team will take a chance on him. It's just the way it goes because there's a lot of teams that need secondary help. I imagine if I'm an NFL team and I saw what I saw from the Detroit Lions defense today, guys like Nick Whiteside, guys like Eric Hallett, Arthur Mollett, if they get to the practice squad, I'm claiming them. Period. Like those guys really prove they belong. But the Lions are so talented. Like Rocky Sin, like what he played, he was a stud until he got hurt. So the Lions got a lot of talent. I think this is the deepest they've been at the secondary level in terms of the cornerback level, the safety level. It just and they're really just beat to shreds right now. But once they get healthy, they're gonna be pretty good. The threat of Hutch was delaying the routes on both the tight end and the running back most of the game. Yes. Great comment, BJ. So I was reading a statistic. I don't know if I saved it or not, but basically Hutch was chipped more than any player in the league this year. He was chipped. I think the most he was chipped in a game was 37% of the game. I think in the third quarter there was one point where I think I'm gonna have to go back and check, but let me see if I can find it. But he was chipped 70% of that game. 70% of that game. Think about that. So I'm gonna try to find it just to be accurate with the information, but um oh yeah, right here. It's from Seth Walder of ESPN. He said Bucks chipped Aiden Hutchinson 56% of the time in the first half per NFL Next Gen Stats. For context, for people that don't understand that, TJ Watt was highest chip rate this season was 39%. That's TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year. Only 2 players are over 30% on the year. The most Hutchinson has ever been chipped in a game this year was 37% by Green Bay. So here's the deal. Teams are chipping him the hell in high water. If I was Brad Holmes, and I know I'm not Brad Holmes. It's hard to be Brad Holmes. He's one of the best guys in the league. If I'm Brad Holmes, I'm going to go get me a defensive end on the opposite side of Hutch. I really am. Someone that strikes fear. Like if I can go get a Cameron Jordan, huge. If I can go get a Carl Granderson from the Saints, huge. Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins, huge. Trey Hendrickson's not available, so I'm not even going to entertain that. But basically, what you're seeing right now from Hutchinson is they are chipping the hell out of him. And I read that stat: 56% of the time in the first half, they were chipping him. 56% of the plays. So you think about that, just absolutely insane the way that Hutch is viewed across the NFL. But that comment right there by BJ is a hell of a comment. Hell of a comment. It's a very good. You think really good of the game. NFL ref and Meyer says Danny Rogers said every player on defense made a play tonight. I can't sit here and say a player did not make an play. I cannot think of one player on this defense that did not make a play. And that's huge, man. When you're talking about what he was able to do, that's huge. Let's get to more comments. I think this is going to be good. Kurt says game ball to the new secondary. Absolutely. The way they played, like I said, the secondary for the Detroit Lions, replacements, misfits, whatever you want to call them, came to play. I was so excited the way Whiteside played. I'm so excited the way Eric Hall played. I'm so excited about the way that Thomas Harper played. I'm so excited about just the way that they played because I feel like a lot of the way that the secondary played was because of the players in the defensive line. Like I really think they had a huge effect on the secondary, and I'm very interested to see what that secondary looks like when it's healthy, and you can mix some of those players in. I think this is going to be special. Chris Flores says, let's rest up and get healthy and keep it rolling in a long season. And that's just the thing. You know, this bye comes at a great time. These players like Kirby and Brian Branch, I think he was dealing with the ankle injury or something. Terran Arnold and DJ Reader, the DJ Reed, they can get healthy. DJ Reader as well. He was dealing with the injury too. So you really want to just get healthy. Going into this portion of the season, you're going to play a lot of good teams. You're going to play the Vikings coming out, Commanders, Eagles, Giants, who are looking pretty good, Packers, Cowboys, Rams. So it doesn't get any easier, but what we saw tonight was just great, really great. Let's see what NFL Raffin Meyer says. Really glad our boys play clean, or else those injuries would be controversial. I hope Mike Evans is okay. So Mike Evans is out for the season. Broken collarbone. They said he is going to miss the rest of the season. Which, if you have him on fantasy, it's not going to be good. Victor says they need to find Taylor Decker's replacement in the draft, and they might have to. Um, it's going to be very interesting what they do in the offseason, because I think they do need a person in the center position because Graham's getting older, and Taylor Decker. Now, I believe that when they drafted Giovanni Manu, they thought he was going to be the player that was going to take over for Decker. He still can, but we haven't seen what he's capable of yet. And he didn't look good in his first game. I thought he looked better than a lot of people thought, but it is what it is. There's another person. Taylor Decker was on his game. Taylor Decker coming back off injury. It's impossible to be playing the way that just getting up to speed. I thought that was the most important thing, but they weren't able to do it. So Taylor Decker is this bye week is gonna be good for him. He can get a little bit healthier. I don't think he was healthy, but it's gonna be an issue going into the offseason. But hopefully you can just get these guys back, and if there's any bumps and bruises, whether it's Glasgow, Decker, DJ Reader, any of those guys, they can get healthy going into the bye week. So that's gonna be good. NFL Rapid Meyer, you have the best takes in all lands. Keep up the great work. I appreciate it. That's really nice. Oh, I was sad we didn't face Kindle Vildor. Kindle's been playing really good with the Bucs. I know it's surprising to a lot of Lions fans, but he's playing really good with the Bucs. And Zion McCollum come back. He wasn't supposed to come back. He wasn't supposed to come back at all, which I think is hilarious. He tore a ligament in his finger. And he's back. And they said he can catch a ball. I don't know about that, but you never know with some of these guys. So it is what it is. All right, let's play some more Dan Campbell audio because we'll get to more. But he says this is a great comment right from him. He says the lights come on and these guys show up. So I'll play that right now because I think that's important right there.
And then the lights come on, man, and guys show up. St. Brown showed up. Josh showed up. That defense showed up. Hutch, Mac. It's great to get Mac back. Wow. Jack Campbell. Our guys show up.
So again, it can't be understated how well the Lions do when they just show up. Like I think that was the most important thing that Dan Campbell said, and that's kind of a philosophy that he has. Like you are expected, if you're on this team, you're expected to contribute. And the best players tonight had really good games. I look at St. Brown. And he had 6 receptions for 86 yards and a touchdown. I look at Jack Campbell had 8 total tackles, 3 solo tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. I look at a guy like Hutchinson. He was low on the stat sheet, but he had 1 pass defense, 1 QB hit, 2 tackles, and he looked really good. He didn't have any sacks, but Tyrus Wheat had 1.5 sacks, so good on him. But again, your best players have to be your best players. Period. End of story. And I think that that's what Dan Campbell really preaches, and it shows. It shows. I'm gonna play this clip. He said
you felt like this was.
I'll play this clip because I think this is important.
Coming, you felt like that this has been building, and as he gets in better shape and starts getting his feet under him, starts getting a feel of it, starts breaking some tackles, you just feel like every week it's gotten closer and closer. And tonight was the night where he busted one of these out of there, and there'll be no looking back. I think he's just going to continue to do this. You felt like this was coming, you felt like that.
So that was about Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think what Jahmyr Gibbs did tonight was special as well. What Jahmyr Gibbs was able to do tonight was extremely special. I got some pictures I'll show you. This is the first one. So this is uh, two things. St. Brown had touchdown receptions in 4 straight games, in 4 straight Monday Night Football games. First player in franchise history. That's from Detroit Lions PR. And Jahmyr Gibbs ties franchise record with Billy Sims in 1980, 1981, 70 plus scrimmage yards and a touchdown for the 6th straight home game. So look, we talk about Gibbs all the time. I think Gibbs is one of the more important players on this roster because he's able to change a game. Jahmyr Gibbs can change a game in an instant. He's so fast, and I'll show you this stat right here. Jahmyr Gibbs reached a top speed of 22.23 miles per hour on his 78-yard TD run. The third fastest by a ball carrier this season, and second fastest by Gibbs, who owns the top 2 speeds on runs this season. No other rusher has exceeded 21.27. So when you think about what Jahmyr Gibbs is able to do, this can't be understated by any stretch of the imagination. What Jahmyr Gibbs does is when you're a defense and you're defending the Lions, there's a lot to defend. You got to defend St. Brown. You got to defend Laporta. You got to defend Jameson Williams. We've been seeing on film that they are shading towards Jameson Williams. They are locking him down. Now, what he does to get through that is going to be the real question. And what the Lions do to get him through, to not get shaded like that, is going to be the real question. But I think it will have to come with like a guy like Isaac Tesla coming around. But basically what Jahmyr Gibbs is able to do is he's able to just really collapse a defensive game plan. Period. Like, you think about what he could do as a running back, what he could do coming out of the backfield catching passes. It can't be understated. Like, I got a couple of Jahmyr Gibbs stats right here that I want to put up for you. Jahmyr Gibbs has produced 8 career games of 2 rushing TDs. That ties Billy Sims for the second most in franchise history. And then you got this one right here. Jahmyr Gibbs is the first line since Kevin Smith in 2011 to record 200 plus scrimmage yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single game. He's the 7th player in franchise history to do so. So, again, Jahmyr Gibbs is a guy who could really strike fear into a defensive game plan. Like, being honest, being completely transparent. If I was a defensive coach and I was going against the Lions, I would focus all my energy on St. Brown and Jameson Williams because they can't beat you. And it kind of gets lost in the shuffle how good Jahmyr Gibbs can be. And when you look at guys like Saquon and Kyron Williams in LA, Derrick Henry in Baltimore, I feel like Jahmyr Gibbs can do the same thing here in Detroit. He could do the same thing here in Detroit. He could really make you pay if you don't pay attention to him and you don't focus your time and energy on him. But then you got the other issue of you could bring in Dave Montgomery from the bench, and Dave Montgomery could haul off with a big run, or he could just wear you down, and then Jahmyr Gibbs comes in and he's a fast-paced back. You know, it's kind of like if you played baseball and you go from a guy who's throws a good cutter, throws a good curveball, and then next guy that comes in throws 100-mile-per-hour fastball down the middle. Like, that's what the Detroit Lions run game is. Like, they're so well built. It's actually funny, to be honest. Now, it's not funny for other teams, but if Jared Goff can just get the ball off to St. Brown, Jameson, Laporta, those guys, and the offensive line can block, there's not many teams that are going to be able to hold you down. I felt like the last 2 weeks, I thought the offense has been held down a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what they do coming out of the bye week, because I think there's a couple things that they can tweak. But the talent's there. Like, there's no doubt about it. The talent is there. So that's all good right there. So let's see. I got a couple more things. Um, where is it? Um, this is Dan Campbell talking about getting Mac back, which we talked about earlier in the podcast. But I think it's good to hear from Dan Campbell's mouth about how good it is to have Lee McNeil back. This is from DetroitLions.com. Let me put it up.
Feel his presence early, you know. It really, and he's not even in great football shape yet. He was ready to play in this game for the snaps that he did, but you could just feel what he looked like in practice is what he looked like here in this game. Just his ability to get an edge, push the pocket, man. I just thought he was a force in there. And guys, great to have him back, man. He makes guys around him better, and I just thought those guys played off each other, and it's only going to help Hutch. That gives him a little bit more of a wingman too with Muhammad and those guys. So it's just good to have him back. Having Mac, you could feel him.
So you heard Dan Campbell there. It's good to have Mac back, and he's right. Lee McNeil has not even reached his peak of what he's going to become this season, and I think that's very, very obviously that's something a lot of people just gloss over. But this is his first game back, first game in live reps, and he looked great. So if he can be that same player moving forward, we'll be good with this Detroit Lions team. Now, I do want to play for you another clip because I think this is from Jared Goff. He says, JG,
It was awesome.
Goff's,
It really was.
Goff's, he shouted out the Lions defense. I think this is very interesting because this just shows how good and how tight knit this team is. So let me play that for you because I think it's important to play out.
It was awesome. It really was. I can't gave them 3 at the end of the half, so they really only had the 1 touchdown drive. And seeing those guys step up, it's so fun. Like guys that are getting maybe their first opportunity or another opportunity once their career has gone a little bit longer, and to see how hard they play and to see how much they want it and how much they're savoring it and getting after it. It's awesome. It brings everyone along, and I thought our defense played well, but those DBs were flying around and really showed up. It was awesome. It really was.
So again, I mean, it shows you what Dan Campbell and this Lions team preach: togetherness, be a team, and having a guy like Jared Goff say what he's saying about the defense and how rewarding it is to see that. It's very special. So that is what it is. But Amik Robertson, he donned a Brian Branch jersey in the locker room. And his post game press conference, it's actually pretty funny because you think about what he's able to do. Obviously, it's so funny. Brian Branch jersey by Meek Robertson. That's just funny as hell. But obviously, you see with how close this team is, and it'll be great to see how they come out of the bye against the divisional opponent in the Minnesota Vikings. So here is the statistics for the Detroit Lions and Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. I had to get it up. I had to make it. 379 total yards for Detroit, 252 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 215 passing yards for Detroit, 210 for the Buccaneers, 164 to 42 in terms of rushing. They both had the same number of plays. Third down, they were both not good on third down. Credit to both defenses. Nearly the same time possession, but what won the game and what usually wins a game we talk about in the NFL is the yards per play. And you can see that the yards per play for Detroit was 5.8. It was 6.0 before, the final drive, but it ended up going there. So 3.9 for the Buccaneers. And that's usually how you're going to win a football game, is by holding a team that's less than 5 yards per play. That means that they got to really go down the field and make plays happen. So that is good. Now, when you come out of the bye week, you're going to be playing the Minnesota Vikings. And I just think that is really, really, it's going to be a tough game against them. But obviously going against the Buccaneers and winning like you did shows the potential of what you're able to do going forward. I think that's the biggest thing that you can take away from this game is you won a defensive game. Your offense didn't play good, but you never played good against the Buccaneers. Even when Ben Johnson was here, his worst games came against the Buccaneers. So I don't think it's much to think about there. But obviously, when you talk about the Buccaneers, they're a pain in the ass. So it is what it is. And if you talk about pressure leaders, week 7 pressure leaders, Hutchinson was number 1, and Al-Qadim Muhammad was number 3. And just absolutely insane. They both had more than Micah Parsons and Brian Fisk, and both were in the top 3, obviously. Here's a statistic as we leave you tonight. Since tackle data became tracked in 1999, Lions Jack Campbell is Detroit's first player to log at least 7 tackles in each of his first 7 games of the season. And I think we can all say that Jack Campbell was worth the price of a first-round pick. I think we can all say that now. He's been a huge piece of this puzzle. Him, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes. I know a lot of people were upset with the contract of Derek Barnes, but boy, has that been a really good contract. Because Derek Barnes did make a huge thing in here today. But like I said, you look at this and you look at the way the Detroit Lions played tonight. Great game. And like I said, coming into the game, the X factors were the Buccaneers trying to blitz Jared Goff, which they did, and getting 4.5 sacks against Baker Mayfield, who has been sacked on just 12.2 of his pressured dropbacks. It's the 5th lowest mark among qualified quarterbacks. That was a huge point of emphasis for me coming into this game. So there you go. So the Detroit Lions win 24-9 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, the bye week will be coming up next. We will do a bye week podcast, and then we'll have a little bit of a reprieve. But obviously, we got to get ready for the second half of the season. This second half of the season is going to be really fun. I think we're going to have a good second half of the season. I don't want to say I know because I don't like to get all, I don't want to like jinx them. But this Detroit Lions team's good. They just proved it tonight. That how good they can be. And it can't be understated the way that Detroit played tonight. It just can't. Like anybody who is doubting what the Detroit Lions are all about, they showed you tonight. So good on the Detroit Lions. Good on, all the guys that came in. Nick Whiteside, Eric Hollett, Arthur Millette, Nick Whiteside. Hats off to you guys. And this just proves everything we've been told about Dan Campbell and the way that he orchestrates this program, about how hard in what he preaches. What he said earlier in the podcast, what I played, he expects every player to come in and play the way that they are expected to play. That is the expectation. And when you saw what happened last year with all the injuries, and you see what you're seeing now, it's very special. So we'll see you guys in the next podcast. We talk more Detroit Lions football here on the Detroit Lions News podcast. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one to talk more Detroit Lions football. Again, Detroit Lions win 24-9 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They hold them to 3.9 yards per play. They had 5.8 yards per play, and it was just an absolute great game for the Detroit Lions. And we'll see you in the next one as we talk about the Minnesota Vikings. But we'll have a bye week podcast. We'll talk about everything leading up to the bye week and what we can expect in the second half. And then we'll go to the next week and Minnesota comes to town, and that'll be interesting right there. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next podcast. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thanks for listening. And if you are listening to this podcast on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, go to Spotify, go to Apple, Detroit Lions News podcast. You get the podcast there. If you don't listen on Twitter or YouTube, you can't get to it. You can get to it there. And then we'll post all the podcasts there. So if you miss any, you can go there. Subscribe, rate, review. It really helps me out. And we'll see you guys in the next podcast. Thank you for watching, and go Lions.